So if you were having these kind of conversations about protecting civil liberties when you were involved in politics in 96 and 2000 in those circles, would they agree with you back then? I mean, and also parallel to that question, did you see the signs of this post-humane society being constructed? I mean, not necessarily at the time, but maybe now you can look back and say, oh, so that's the way, that's why they were putting that in place in 96 or talking about doing this in 2000, Gore era campaign. Was this all coming together for a long time, or how does this how does this look from your perspective, having sat in the
Yeah.
halls of power in these different eras of history? Were you seeing the beginnings of what we have now emerge in discussion?
Yeah, that's a great question. First, I want to say, even though it's the left and the Democrats engaged in the worst of it here in America, and I say that as a former Democrat, it's really not a partisan issue. It's much more serious than that, because Boris Johnson is doing the same thing. He's a conservative. Scott Morrison is doing the same thing. He's a conservative. Trudeau did the same thing. He's a liberal. Macron is kind of a liberal. So it's this is happening above the level of
Well,
nation
Russia was
state.
doing similar passports in Russia, and they're considered to be the arch nemesis of liberals.
Exactly. This is a global rollout of an attack on democracy, and certainly on the West. Um, I I did see, since 2008, certainly, that no one in power. I saw. I started Daily Clout, which is this website and company that empowers people to use democracy, because as a political consultant, even in the you know Clinton Gore era, which didn't go very far, that flaws, of course, I didn't see anything like this. Um, but nonetheless, what I saw was people sitting at the table wanted as few stakeholders there as possible. I absolutely saw that there was an overwhelming desire to keep the bill, with all the money it represented, among three or four stakeholders, instead of letting the voices in of the people. And that a lot of barriers were put in place. And that's what Give Me Liberty is about, keeping people from having a voice. And that's why we built BillCam at Daily Clout, my company. It's a digital database of legislation, so you can lobby no matter who you are. I did that in reaction to people being excluded. So I did understand that the goal of anyone holding power, even in a democracy, is to keep holding it. And that if people can shut down their critics, or shut down investigations, or shut down, others clamoring for representation, they will.